I've never been so confident, though, of making a prediction as when I was called to sit on a panel about the possibility of an accelerator turning on and ending the world. Predicting that it won't is very safe, because if your prediction is wrong...
Astonishingly, what was kept from the public while everyone had a big laugh is the little discussed fact that the 4 safety arguments provided by the nuclear industry in their never updated 1999 safety report were all false. Let us consider them in detail, since our destiny might depend on them. The first assurance, repeated ad nauseum in all the industry's reports and media appearances, is a deceptively simple lie, which, like the Higgs hype, relies on people's ignorance about physics.
Dr. Ellis seemed all too eager to explain away the dangers of his experiment.
The universe has been bombarding the Earth, the Sun, and the stars with cosmic rays which have much higher energies than the collisions we're going to make with the LHC.
Oh, yeah?
It is true that cosmic rays travel through the cosmos, collide with stars and planets, and the galaxy still exists. But that has nothing to do with the risks associated when quark explosions convert matter into a strangelet. Why? Because cosmic rays are not quarks. They are an entirely different substance. 99% are gamma rays and protons, while the remaining 1% are atomic nuclei.
And his identity? Naked atom.
The late Enrico Fermi, one of the great pioneers of modern science. Fermi suggested that within our Milky Way, gargantuan badminton games go on, in which the players are these huge magnetic fields, and the birds are tiny naked atoms which have been shot into space from erupting stars. And the atoms are naked because the star heat is so intense that atoms can't hang on to their satellite electrons as they do at normal temperatures.
What?
When such an atom is exploded into space from a star, it will eventually collide with a magnetic field and bounce off.
Those lonely cosmic rays are coming from faraway stars, and they arrive and collide with planetary bodies in solitary, harmless units. They are not masses of heavy gold and lead atoms, with hundreds of quarks packed in tight bundles and cracked in precise collisions that liberate a critical mass of millions of strange quarks that are theoretically capable of starting an Ice-9 reaction. The fact is that we have never found a single deconfined quark in a century of cosmic ray analysis. The industry's first safety argument is therefore a blatant lie that breaks 2 fundamental scientific proofs of truth: experimental evidence and the known cause principle. The primary reason physicists are doing those experiments in particle accelerators is precisely because nature does not do them on planet Earth. Otherwise, we would just keep building cosmic ray detectors like the one CERN has in its museum, which reveals precisely how unimpressive the force of a lonely cosmic ray actually is. The second safety assurance refers to baby black holes, which will be theoretically possible to form in 2015, when the Large Hadron Collider doubles the potency of its collisions.
I heard some questions that maybe the next generation of particle colliders would create conditions in which you might
Create what?
create high enough energy conditions that for some reason a tiny black hole might spontaneously be created, which could be very dangerous.
There are 2 questions there. So the first question was, or statement was, that you've read that there are theoretical speculations that at the next generation of high energy accelerators, one might produce small black holes. And that's true. Otherwise, respectable physicists have suggested that kind of thing.
It is important to note that the creation of black holes at CERN is considered probable at those new energy regimes by both promoters and opponents of these colliders.
Many black holes could be created by smashing a proton into an antiproton with enough energy. If one were created near a large concentration of mass, and if it started absorbing that mass before exploding, the black hole could reach a relatively stable half-life and thus continue to grow.
In Einstein's classic theory, black holes are frozen stars that are likely composed of the heaviest top quarks, which will be mass-produced as the primary decay particles of the Higgs boson. Modern string theory also predicts that black holes will be created at these new energy regimes. But according to relativity theory, once formed, these black holes will swallow the Earth and kill us all. Since the industry of accelerators knows it cannot deny the possibility of creating black holes, it has chosen to simply rebuke those risks of extinction by invoking a false safety assurance about the nature of black holes. Their claim is that these black holes will simply evaporate, which is based on an unproven hypothesis that contradicts both Einstein's black hole theory and the fundamental laws of thermodynamics.
He coined the word entropy to mean the amount of thermal energy not available to do work. Based on the everyday observation that warm objects such as a cup of coffee always spontaneously become colder, Clausius stated the second law of thermodynamics, that the ability of energy to do work is always decreasing. In other words, the universe tends towards maximum entropy.
According to Einstein's equations, a black hole is born as a mass vortex that turns at light speed. This means that in terms of temperature, it is extremely hot. The black hole then begins to grow its mass exponentially as it lowers its temperature, transferring its extreme heat to the star or planet and devouring it in a dual Big Bang, Big Crunch. According to the laws of thermodynamics, heat always moves from the hot source, in this case the black hole, to the cold environment it evaporates, which would be the Earth. Yet to eliminate the risks posed by black holes, the safety report denies both the sacred laws of thermodynamics and standard black hole theory, choosing instead to believe Stephen Hawking's never-proven hypothesis that black holes break all the laws of thermodynamics and evaporate.
That is a great story.
Quite amusing, Dr. Hawking.
Einstein is laughing because Mr. Hawking's evaporating black holes break most of the known laws of science, which, according to the scientific principle of correspondence, is a proof of falsity. Evaporating black holes have also been disproven experimentally after 30 years of unsuccessful searches for them in the cosmos, which is another basic proof of falsity.
My supervisor, Dennis Sharma.
The artist Escher called impossible objects, where you can design an object on a piece of paper, and Escher made such designs, which can't be realized in the real world. For instance, there's a picture where the steps go round in a circuit, but they're always going down as you keep going round. You then end up where you began, and yet you've been going down all the way. And you can draw something which suggests that, but in fact you couldn't construct it in the real world, and had the kind of mind that would conceive relationships of that sort.
But of course, once you break the fundamental laws of science, all kinds of magical possibilities present themselves. Hawking, for example, advertises his imaginary black holes in conferences around the world as a potential source of perpetual energy, the most common hoax of 19th century science, before the laws of entropy made them impossible, a fact that Mr. Hawking seems to have forgotten.
Some of the collisions might create micro black holes. These would radiate particles in a pattern that would be easy to recognize. Nothing could get out of a black hole. But I discovered that particles can leap out of a black hole. Its speed, therefore, will be rather uncertain, and can be more than the speed of light, which would allow the particle to escape from the black hole.
I have a plan.
A black hole of the mass of a mountain would give off X-rays and gamma rays at a rate of about 10 million megawatts, enough to power the world's electricity supply. It wouldn't be easy, however, to harness a mini black hole. You couldn't keep it in a power station because it would drop through the floor and end up at the center of the Earth. Gravity will pull harder on your feet and your head because they are near the black hole. The result is you will be stretched out longwise and squashed in sideways. You would be torn apart and made into spaghetti before you reached the horizon. About the only way would be to have the black hole in orbit around the Earth.
Nuclear reactors could provide power almost indefinitely. Greenhouses could maintain plant life.
People have searched for many black holes of this mass, but have so far not found any. This is a pity, because if they had, I would have got a Nobel Prize. It might be possible to observe this at the LHC, the Large Hadron Collider, at CERN in Switzerland. So, I might get a Nobel Prize after all.
If you take the Earth, to give you an example, and you take a vise, if you could make a vise and you squeeze the Earth has a radius of 6,400 kilometers. If you could make the radius 3 centimeters, the Earth would become a black hole. 3 centimeters, this big. Then it would automatically further collapse onto itself. Nothing could stop it, and it would become a black hole. And you could never, light could never leave it, radio waves could not leave it, because they all go with the speed of light.
After 5 years, the Earth will be shrunk to 2 centimeters, which is the opposite of sustainability.
But CERN and Mr. Hawking may yet lose this insane race for extinction to Brookhaven's Heavy Ion Collider, since they have already admitted to producing strange quark liquid. This fact alone disproves by sheer experimental evidence the third safety assurance in their 2-decade-old report, which claims that strange quark liquid will not be produced on planet Earth because it is in fact a hot gas, not a liquid.
It expected to find a gas with little or no interaction among quarks and more uniform expansion. Instead, the asymmetric expansion and strong interactions have led RIC researchers to conclude that the early universe was a nearly perfect liquid.
In a surreal twist, while new scientific papers appear constantly on the physics of the strange liquid being produced in those accelerators, the world is assured that such a feat is impossible. Similarly, CERN installed the Castor detector, a calorimeter that will search for different types of strangelets with a stated 70% chance of finding them. Yet officially, there is no danger because there will not be absolute proof of an Ice-9 reaction as long as the Earth continues to exist. Despite these dangers, a second process of liquid formation, the creation of stable, dual strange quark atoms called dibaryons, has begun in both the colliders at Brookhaven and CERN. The creation of a strangelet mass large enough to start an Ice-9 reaction is consequently almost certain. Invisible dual strange atoms, more stable than our matter and so heavy that when created, immediately fall towards the center of the Earth, cutting through the light magma like a knife in water. They are sitting there as we speak, growing in numbers until they reach the supercritical mass needed to freeze the planet. Only then will we have the absolute proof that the Earth no longer exists. As Dr. Alnak from CERN's Large Hadron Collider explained, we know no absolute barrier to the rapid growth of a dangerous strangelet. In a catastrophic chain reaction, the weight of a killer strangelet would pull it down. Eventually, the strangelet would sit at the center of the Earth, eating other nuclei, attracting the Earth's mass gravitationally. It would eat our planet from the inside out, converting the Earth into one giant strangelet, and killing us all in the process. Since we cannot observe the center of the Earth, there will never be an absolute proof of this slow leak of strange atoms, just like there is no absolute proof of the more than 200,000 victims of Chernobyl or the statistical spike in thyroidal cancer among Fukushima children.
だから作られる甲状腺は補正要素が作られてるから、だから生まれた時から先天性の甲状腺が乗った形で生まれてるの。
それもね、チェルノブイリなんかでもいっぺん降ったんじゃなくて、地球の中もぐるぐる回るから何回も降ってるっていうね。死亡するまでは最初の突然変異が起こってから僕たちの常識では15年ぐらいが必要なんですね。だからところが昭和じゃない1986年ここでチェルノブイリがあるんですね。
そうですね。
でこれからちょうど10年なんです。で10年ではちょっと短いかなっていう感じがするんですけど、これだけまとまって東北北海道それから日本海に来るにはチェルノブイリしか考えられないよね。
The nuclear industry simply denies the potential deaths caused by the invisible leaks of their radioactive atoms. Just like the fourth safety argument affirms that 15 years ago, when the report was signed, there was no absolute proof of the existence in nature of the very same strange quark matter its accelerators are producing right now. This lie is falsified by the industry's own experiments and by all the pervading presence of quark matter in the universe. There is now a general agreement among astrophysicists, for example, that the core of pulsars is made of quark matter, which is responsible for the explosion of stars called supernovas. But because quark matter does not interact with light, we cannot see the star's core. Instead, we detect them indirectly through their attractive gravitational pull, which is the same proof we have of many celestial objects comprised of massive quark dark matter. As it stands, the two families of heavy quarks are the only known substance whose invisibility, coldness, and weight correspond to those of the two invisible, massive, dormant cosmological species of the galaxy, black holes and the galactic halo. Strange quark liquid has the same physical properties found in the external halo of dark matter that surrounds and protects galaxies and stores 90% of its mass. Top quark condensates are the only known substance with a similar mass and density to the swarms of black holes found in the center of the galaxy. In between the two, we find the third light family of up and down quarks that form the visible matter of stars and planets that make up our world. Furthermore, we know that our light matter is constantly devoured and converted into quark stars and black holes. This process continues until a galaxy is entirely made of dark matter and becomes invisible, creating a gravitational pull that is so great that it bends even the path of light. This beautiful symmetry between the three main types of cosmic bodies in the galaxy and the three families of quarks proves that quark matter not only exists, but is the main component of all the galaxies that form our universe. So yes, we are still here, but our likely destiny is to become the cosmological dust of quark matter. And all those accelerators are doing is to accelerate our demise by creating the strange quark liquid that is responsible for most of the catastrophic explosions taking place within the different scales of the cosmos. Despite all these facts, for the accelerator industry, it is business as usual, with plans for even bigger accelerators like the Chinese Super Collider that will host a city of physicists within its 80-kilometer circular perimeter. Also in development are cheaper and more powerful varieties of plasma accelerators that will ramp up quark production and secure our destiny as a species that becomes a strangelet floating in the galactic halo. Is this the meaning of it all? Are we so insignificant to the universe?